guys? Hey, it's your co-host and host Bob Algard here for the Training for What Matters show. Today we've got a really awesome episode about the difference of training for what matters versus working out. I've got the CFO, Chief Fitness Officer, and founder of Solid Rock Training, Geiges, and myself, and we're going to dive in. You ready?
I'm ready, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
For sure. All right, bro. So first thing is this concept of training for what matters is unique to our brand, Solid Rock Training. And it's something that we feel really strongly about because there's a lot of other fitness concepts in the marketplace, and the people that come to Solid Rock and call us home have found that training is something different than working out. So I'd love to hear your perspective as a fitness pro on the difference between what training is and what working out is, and how those two things are special in themselves, but why training is more important than working out.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a very big difference between working out versus training, and it commonly gets misconstrued in our industry. So when you think of working out, you think, I want to go to the gym and I want to just get absolutely throttled. I want to burn a ton of calories. I just want to feel like I went through the ringer, be sweating a lot, and I want to feel like I just accomplished something. And that has a time and a place. Like, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you ultimately desire. But doing that day in and day out, your joints aren't going to hold up. It's not a very sustainable long-term approach to fitness. Your body's going to break down, and it's just a matter of time before you lead to injury. And if we constantly have this mindset of, hey, I need to burn more calories, eventually, if you're taking a caloric deficit and you're training that hard, your body's going to get run down, you're going to get sick, your immune system's going to be just freaking crushed, you're not going to have a lot of energy, and it's going to catch up with you, and it's not a very sustainable way to train.
Right.
So that's when we dive into training versus working out. Training is coming in with a purpose. Every day you work out, you don't need to crush yourself. You don't need to burn 5,000, 1,000 plus calories and be drenched in sweat. If your focus for that day is, hey, I want to slow down and work on my pull-up form and squeezing and activating my lat muscles and getting a big pull over the bar, and then going really slow on the way down so I can control the movement, you're going to get a lot more out of training. You're going to get a lot more longevity. You're going to get better results in the long run. You're going to be more fit. Your body's going to look better. You're going to feel better. And ultimately, you're just going to be more sustainable for every aspect of your life.
For sure. Yeah, guys, I want you to really pay close attention to something you said about training, is that training is purposeful. So when you show up to the gym, every single session that you do should have a purpose, and you should have an intention behind the reason why you're there, right? Which is the whole thing of training for what matters. So for some folks that come here, they come here because they want to lose weight. A lot of our clients originally joined because they need to lose 20 to 40 pounds, or they have a previous injury where they were concerned, like they were worried about starting back with fitness, and they were scared they might get re-injured, or they weren't able to do some of their favorite activities like going hiking, going playing golf, going playing with their kids, their grandkids, things like that. So when you show up to do a training session, you should have that intention in mind, like what it is that I want to accomplish, and I'm going to put emphasis on that today, right? And intentions are important because they take you a step further into the mind, right? And that's the next thing that I'd love to talk with you about, is just the mindset of training, right? That the idea of that there's this fixed-minded approach where, hey, I want to live my life in a caloric deficit, or I can live my life in an abundance and enjoy foods. Make the choices that change the way I look at nourishment, change the way I look at food, change the way I look at nutrition, so that, I can actually live a fulfilling life, train, do all these things, and never have to feel bad about eating that, pizza, or eating a donut every once in a while, or having a glass of wine when you're, out at dinner or whatever, like really shifting. So let's talk a little bit about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. What are some of the common things you see people do in fitness that have fixed mindsets?
Man, I love the topic of a fixed versus a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset in fitness, to take a step backwards, there's just so much content readily available for everyone to see. So every fitness guru is posting something on social media or YouTube, and just because they are absolutely shredded out of their mind, people believe that what they're preaching or what they're communicating is the best way to do something. That might be the best way to do it for that person,
Right.
but it might not be the best way for you to do it if you're 20 pounds overweight, or if you just came out of surgery and you just went through physical therapy and you want to get back into a program where you can have a long-term success. It might be something as simple as trying to out-train a bad diet. That is the most common one, and that's where the calorie burning comes into effect. Why do people want to burn so many calories when they're working out? It's because they want to go eat some not so great things, and it's just this repetitive cycle that eventually leads to burnout and doesn't allow you to achieve your ultimate goals. So that's probably the biggest one I see in the fitness space, is trying to out-train a bad diet
Right.
with a fixed mindset. Now, a growth mindset requires discipline. Discipline is the root of all freedom and greatness. So
Shout out to Jocko Willink.
you have to have discipline to get to where you want to go. You have to have discipline to slow down and not come in and throttle yourself, and you have to trust the process. A lot of people don't trust the process. There's a lot of things in my life I struggle with trusting the process, so I can completely relate to that. But coming in, going slow, having a mind-muscle connection where you slow down. If I'm doing a bench press, what muscles am I actually working? Is my mind telling those muscles to squeeze and activate, or am I just taking my joints through that range of motion as fast as I can and wearing my joints down? So being able to have the discipline to slow down and to focus on growing and getting 1% better every single day, rather than just going for the sake of going.
Absolutely. Yeah, and all this stuff that Derek's talking about, it'll pay off tenfold in other areas of your life. It doesn't just have to be fitness, but the way you show up for one thing, it's the way you show up for everything, right? It's just a fact. So if you approach working out like it's just something you're going to go through the motions on, versus you show up and you're going to approach it with a high level of intentionality, you're probably going to show up to other areas in your life like that too. So just think of it like practice. You're here to practice so that you can get the outcome that you want, right? And I think that's really cool, because I think beginners look at, fitness as working out, and pros look at it as training. Right?
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how you can maximize a training session, especially here at Solid Rock. Like when you show up, what's the best way to get an incredible session in that's full of intention, has a lot of purpose, and you leave and you don't feel like you just went, 9 rounds with Mike Tyson and you got punched in the face 100 times, right?
Yeah.
So let's start with the heat up, getting here maybe 5-10 minutes early, and why that's so important for your joints, for your muscle tissues, for your fibers and ligaments, and then also too just cardiovascularly, what that does for you. So you tell our audience a little bit about why it's important to heat up before you work out, do a training session.
Absolutely, man. Heating up's extremely important, especially it depends on what background you come in with, like previous injuries and things like that. Your age has a very significant factor, but I'm a firm believer in coming into the gym, having a game plan when you come in. And for me personally, and what I believe for the vast majority of the general population, they need to come in and they need to get moving before we dive into a training session. They need to heat that muscle tissue up so it can become more elastic, so we can help prevent injury during that training session. How do we do that at Solid Rock? How do we educate on that? We call it heating up. Come to the gym, show up 10 minutes early for your training session, go in there, hop on one of the bikes, hop on a rower, maybe grab a jump rope, maybe do a light jog outside. Get moving. It should be at a talking pace for 5 minutes. Get your body aware, your mind alert. Have high intentionality going into your training session, because once we dive into our dynamic warm-up called our movement prep, you're going to be ready to go. Those muscles are going to elongate. You're going to help prevent injury, and you're going to be ready to crush.
Yes. It's so important, guys. Like, if you think about your body as a whole, it's a machine. It is something that you should take care of. Just like when you take your car to get the oil change, you're doing that as preventative maintenance, so you don't ever have to go to the car shop and go get your engine replaced. That engine could be your heart, it could be your knee, it could be your ankle, whatever, right? Like, you should look at fitness as a proactive healthcare solution rather than having to be completely reactive and wait to the point of breakdown. So treat your body like the machine that it is. My favorite analogy is that when people treat their body like a Honda Civic, they'll put whatever they want in their gas tank, or they'll beat that thing up. Whereas if you think of yourself as a Ferrari, then every time you go to the gas station, you're going to get premium fuel, aka really good nutrition, really good sleep, reduction in stress, and the way you approach fitness is going to be totally different too. Because when you have a race car driver that steps foot in their Ferrari, again, they're not going in there to just drive that car. They're getting into that car and they have a purpose every single time they step foot in that car when they drive it, right?
100%. Going back to heating up, it's like if it's below freezing outside, what are you going to do to your car before you go get in it? Are you going to warm it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always go start my car and then I go back inside. I don't have one of those remote starts yet, but we're working on that. I let that bad boy warm up. By the time I get in there, it's nice and warm. I'm comfortable. So just heating your body up essentially for a training session. And man, you nailed it with putting the right fuel in your tank with nutrition.
For sure. Yeah. And fuel is so much more than nutrition too, right? Like there's so many other ways we can fuel our bodies with the thoughts we let into our minds, so many things. But let's talk about our group training. Why Solid Rock training is unique. When everybody else is talking about caloric burn, try to get as many reps as possible, high volume, high intensity, let's absolutely crush it today. Why we came up with the PainFree Fitness formula and how that actually benefits our members more than most other modalities in the marketplace. Let's talk a little bit about that from a biomechanics standpoint, movement quality, and also how that translates to performance in everyday life.
Absolutely. And Bob, I'm going to relate our training program back to a personal experience for me.
Okay.
So when I was done being a collegiate athlete, I would get out of bed in the morning and I felt like I was a 60-year-old man. Like my body absolutely hurt. And I knew there was a lot of fitness modalities that I would go do. And when I did those fitness modalities, my body just hurt even more. So I was like, man, I got to come up with something that's going to help me take a step back, slow things down, and regress things. So there's a guy named Mark Verstegen who's the founder of a company called Exos, and he's all about movement quality. And that was a big aha moment for me in the fitness space. And so I wanted to create a program that I could do well into my 70s. And then our team at Solid Rock has just come together and evolved it to be something so much better. So why our group training program? Why are we different? To answer your initial question, it's because we focus on movement quality. There are 6 primary functional movements of the human body, and the majority of society has lost those primary functional movement patterns because we live very sedentary lifestyles. We sit at desks all day.
I'm going to pause you for a second real quick. For the 6 movement patterns, just so everybody knows what they are, will you tell us what those are real quick?
Absolutely. You have your upper body push. You can do that like in a horizontal plane, a push-up.
Yeah.
You can do it in a vertical plane like an overhead press.
Yeah.
You got your upper body pull. Think of a vertical plane as a pull-up. A horizontal plane would be a dumbbell row. We got our lower body squat, which is knee dominant. I'm going to incorporate a lunge into that. Think a lunge is a single leg squat. And then we have our lower body hinge, which would be an RDL or a kettlebell swing or something along those lines, which is more hip dominant. And then we have our core stabilization. I want you to think a plank, anti-rotation exercises as well.
Got it. So you're using the analogy of someone that's sedentary, sitting at desks. So how would those 6 movement patterns benefit them from, getting from their desk to being able to enjoy the things that they want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I was saying, most of the society has lost those functional movement patterns. So we bring them in and we slow things down and we train those functional movement patterns really slow, regress a lot of them at body weight until they can do full range of motion, which is going to help them get out of pain. A lot of people don't realize how much pain they're in until they realize that their body can't do the things it was designed to do. They can't activate the muscles they need to activate to develop stability in their body. I forget what the percentage is, but the majority of society deals with lower back pain. What's the answer for that? Most people sit down. Most people look at their computers all day. They're like this. They're driving in their cars. They're texting like this. What muscles can't they turn on that's going to help stabilize the back? I'm sitting on my glute muscles, teaching them how to activate those muscles so they can help get out of lower back pain. So it could be multiple things. It could be getting out of a chair. It could be playing with your kid outside. It could be carrying groceries inside, doing loaded carries, just simple things that relate to your everyday life.
For sure. Yeah, man, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? So that's performance in your everyday life. I just hope everybody understands that movement quality is so important. We have a saying around here that it's quality over quantity. It's not cliche at all. It's the absolute truth that when you do something and there's high level of quality that's present, then the amount of whatever work you've done is going to add up. And it's going to be a multiple every single time you do it right after there, right? And that's when you can start adding intensity, is once you've built the foundations. You really need to think about your body. Again, another great analogy is like building a house. The first step to building any house is you got to have a great foundation. You got to pour that concrete. You got to make sure it's solid, like solid rock. And then you got to put those walls on, right? Making sure that you can actually get through those movements, full range of motion. And then finally, you're going to put a roof on that beast. Once you get the roof on, that's the fun part. That's the part where you can pick some weights up, add some intensity, have a little fun, get a little crazy. But there's no point in doing any of that stuff until you can move well, pain-free, through just normal movements.
Yeah, and to caveat off of that, most people think they already have the roof on their house.
Right.
And they want to come in and they want to go bananas. Whereas we know if we can take you through full range of motion, slow things down, get you to squeeze and activate the muscles that you're working, weight loss is going to come with it, pain-free is going to come with it, energy is going to come with it, happiness, health, it's all going to come with it because it all builds upon each other. And then we can layer in that intensity, like you said. But we just have to be disciplined enough not to come in and want to throttle ourselves, and really take a step back and say, hey, like, how is my body actually moving? What's actually going on underneath the hood? And how can I get to where I want to go?
For sure. And a really great question to ask yourself before you start any training session is, how do I feel today? Just ask yourself that question. That question alone will tell you exactly how intense you can go, or if you need to just back off and focus on some really, really good quality movements, right? And it's a great way to open up communication with yourself, but also the person that's serving you, your coach. Our best clients are the ones that have open lines of communication with their coaches, that let them know, hey, I feel this way today. Really need you to challenge me here. Or, hey, can you help dial it back here? Or, I think I need a customization. My shoulder doesn't feel 100%, or my knee doesn't feel 100%. Can you customize today's workout for me? And that's a beautiful thing about a group too. It's systematized and it's able to meet the person where they're at. So just a tip for everybody that's listening. All right. The next thing that's also really exciting, past just our PainFree Fitness formula for group training, is personal training. We have what's called solution-based personal training here at Solid Rock, which means that when you come to do personal training, unlike other gyms, we're actually going to put together a custom plan to help you solve a problem, because we want to help you achieve a solution, which is why it's solution-based. That being said, in order for us to do that, there's several steps that we like to take every new member or existing member through to help you achieve the outcome that you want. So let's talk a little bit about how we build that specifically for a person. So what's the process when someone is interested in finding a solution to either pain, or they've been struggling to lose weight for a while and group hasn't been working, or maybe they just need extra accountability, stuff like that. And what's day one look like for them to start a solution-based personal training program?
Yeah, day one is going to be a no sweat assessment. So you're going to come in, you're going to meet with a coach of your preference. They're going to sit down, they're going to go over your goals, why you want to achieve those goals. Yeah. They're going to go over if you have pain, where do you feel your pain, what do you think's causing your pain. Then they're going to do an in-body with you so they can get a good base of your fitness and your health to base your program off of. Then once you go through that, they're going to talk with you about load versus capacity. And they're going to explain to you why you're in pain, and that's because you're exceeding your capacity. We can explain that on another podcast coming up in the near future. Then they're going to take you through a movement assessment. There's 8 different assessments. They're going to assess your entire body and see how each joint moves. You're going to see if you have pain or limited range of motion in any of those things. And once you go through the entire movement assessment, then the coach is going to be able to give you a functional diagnosis of what's happening underneath the hood. And then they're going to be able to program a customized program to provide a solution to help you get out of pain, to help you move better. Maybe it's to lose weight, a customized program to help you lose weight. And then once that's complete, they'll get you all set up on your personal training, and it depends how many sessions you're going to need to, how many sessions they're going to need to provide a solution, and you guys are going to go get it.
For sure. And we want to be really clear about this type of personal training is that a lot of times when you go visit a personal trainer, you know, they're kind of setting you up to rely on them. Our goal with personal training is to help you get to a situation where you no longer need a personal trainer, where you can just do group training. Do something that's sustainable, that's cost effective, that'll actually help you reach your goals long term and sustain them, versus, you know, having to pay an incredible amount of money over and over and over again to, you know, achieve relatively similar outcome as what you get with our group training, which is why it's so special, which is why it's called solution-based personal training in the first place.
Absolutely. I firmly believe this, that our group training is personalized group training.
Absolutely.
It's personal training done in a group, and it's the way we've created our system and our model. So you nailed it on the head. The goal is to get back into the group.
For sure.
But we need to solve the problem or the issue or the specific goal with that one-on-one.
Right. Yeah, because you can't move forward sometimes without taking a step back. Sometimes we got to think of ourselves like a little bit of an onion. You know, we need to slow down. You need to peel off some of your layers. You need to look at the core of what's going on with the situation, and you need to address that. And then you can assemble that onion again and regrow it and make it look whole. So when you look at an onion, it's got all those fibers. Those fibers tell a story. So when we look at our lives and we look at things that we need to work on, we should think of it that way. That way we can actually, you know, bring forward a solution so we can become the best version of ourselves.
100.
All right. So going into that, let's take this a little bit further. Some things that a lot of people that we see, because we work with majority of people that are like 35 to 60, you know, 40 plus, and a lot of them have previous injuries, or they have, you know, nagging joint pain, or they have some sort of, you know, range of motion limitations. So how do we provide customizations for those people in group, whereas, you know, another gym or somewhere else may not be able to help make sure that they stay safe and they get the best possible experience?
Absolutely. Customizations are extremely important, and our whole entire program is designed on being able to customize each movement for that client. If they do a one-on-one assessment and the coach that's coaching that group training class, they'll be even able to customize it even further. But in regards of customization, if I have pain in a certain movement pattern, we're going to try a different plane within that movement pattern. Our entire coaching staff is trained and educated on how to do that. If that different plane of that movement pattern still bothers you, then we might even switch up the movement pattern within the movement that we're doing for that specific station for the day. So the goal is to keep everyone safe, to keep everyone pain-free. But a lot of times we experience pain and we think we're injured, where in fact that maybe we've been very sedentary, maybe we haven't taken our joints through full range of motion, and if that pain is below a level 4 and it doesn't get any worse while you're doing the exercise, you need to strengthen that movement. Old school method of thinking is, oh, I have a pain, it hurts, I need to stop immediately. No, let's address it. What's your pain level? Does it get any worse when you're doing the movement? Does it feel better after you're done doing the movement? Well, we just have a strength issue, and we need to work through that strength issue. And our coaches are educated on how to progress and train people through that.
For sure. And something that I think you hit the nail on the head is that people will think they're injured when they're really not, because they just don't know what injury really feels like. And so they associate that feeling with something that's not true. And it's not that they're wrong, it's just they don't have anything to compare it to effectively say, you know, this is what's really going on with me. So some of the words that I think we would probably joke around as coaches is that, you know, you hear like, hey, I'm tight today. Great, well, like, what does that mean? You know, and so being able to take this movement assessment that you've been talking about and diagnose someone and say, hey, you know, this is what's really going on. And it sounds to me like you might have a strength imbalance. And you have an imbalance, we can treat that, right? Because that's where training comes into play, is that we can treat pretty much any imbalance. It just doesn't happen overnight, right? So some timelines that it would take to maybe treat a strength imbalance would be like 4 to 6 weeks, probably.
Yeah.
To get it started.
I would even challenge you to think about sessions. How many times meeting with you at approximately an hour is going to allow us to fix that issue.
Yeah.
It really just depends based off your one-on-one assessment of where you're at, but I would say anywhere between 12 and 24 sessions as a minimum.
Right, so like get it started, get it going.
To get it rolling.
Yeah, a one-on-one. Perfect. And then you can still do group though. Like that's the whole point of this, guys, is that if you're a member of Solid Rock and you're listening to this right now, the whole point of our PT is to keep you in group so you can stay active, you can stay moving, but we can get you out of pain, or we can specifically help you build a skill so that you can lose the weight that you need, or whatever it is that you want to get back to, right? Without having to stop everything and put everything on hold.
Yep.
Cool. All right.